All right. Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing on this fine Monday morning? I'm doing great. First, before we get to the subject at hand today, this one's probably going to be a little bit longer. I usually like to keep these between 10 15 minutes long, but this one we're going to get into some geopolitical discussions here. But before we do that, I think we need to give ourselves a round of applause. Look at that, up 432%. Yeah, baby. All right, you see this spike here? It's everybody seemed to love. They are just going point. Everybody seemed to love the video broadcasting boredom awards. We went to the look, it's a cricket. Anyways, crickets and tumblers recognizing the unwavering commitment. Stand still. So everybody seemed to love. We roasted, the big four. We looked at KPMG, Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst and Young, and we evaluated their video offering. Each one has sort of this insights page where they're sort of giving sort of up to date ideas, in a simple, easy to digest format. And so we just took a look, and everyone seemed to love the comedy. Anyways, so let's get to what we're going to be talking about here. We're going to be talking about Europe and how Ukraine, right? If you don't know Stalingrad, and if you don't know the Holodomor, and if you don't know the history of what happened under Stalin to the Donbass region, which is primarily a Russian-speaking region of Ukraine. And so we're going to take a look here real quick, and we're going to familiarize ourselves with, because people, right? So here's the Donbass, here's the Crimea. The war-torn activity isn't happening in the north or in the majority of Ukraine. It's just happening around here. And what Russia has done is they've created a defensive perimeter around the Donbass region. All right, so there is like miles, just like the United States has created a wall. They've created an abyss, a zombie apocalypse abyss that the Ukrainian forces can't penetrate. All right. And so what we have, let me see if I can get this image. Look, oh my God, Chat GPT. So this is the metaphor I'm talking about. Europe has put $500 billion into this reverse Stalingrad situation. These are the dragon's teeth. Here are and dragon's teeth are anti-tank fortifications. World War II methodology, right? Let's see if I can get a actual photo of oh man, I had it here. I hate when that happens. Okay. Anyways, we'll go on. Maybe it's right. All right. Sorry, I lost the actual photo. But anyway, so the dragon's tooth idea is to just create these cement like pyramids that tanks can't run over anyways. So along the perimeter of the Donbass region is just miles and miles of barbed wire anti tank trenches, dragon's teeth, hedgerows, right? And so the devastation, the carnage is happening not in the entirety of the not in the entirety of the country of Ukraine. It's happening just here along the perimeter, along this area here. The zombie apocalypse, where $500 billion of armaments went into the abyss, 450,000 NATO trained Ukrainian lives disappeared into this zombie apocalypse. They say, I think, 50 to 60,000 Russian troops perished here. So, like 500,000 men died in this conflict. Europe put $500 million into this project. And all while this was happening, you have the Paris building spending $50 million, $15 billion building the Grand Prix Express, which is connecting the Charles de Gaulle, Bourget, and the Orly airports. So you'll get from the airport to Centre-Ville Paris in like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 11 minutes. So this, you have people, experts saying because of this reverse Stalingrad thing that has happened, just like Germany, it was the Achilles heel, it was the thing that destroyed Germany. There are experts saying that this cauldron, this reverse cauldron, this zombie apocalypse scenario that Russia has created will be the end of NATO, and it will be the end of the EU. We'll talk about that later, but let's get a reference to the Grand Prix Express. This is a video I did 10 years ago, and I'm going to be talking about the Grand Prix Express in a real estate perspective, which what I was doing in Paris in 2015. So let's take a look, and we'll turn down the original music, and let's see what's up.
Bonjour, ça va? Ça va bien, merci. Here we are in Paris. Some people call it the city of love. Some people call it the center of culture, fashion, and art. But you know what I call Paris 2015? I call it the real estate investment capital of the world. One more again. One that later. First, a history lesson. Come on. It'll be fun, I promise. 2,000 years in under 2 minutes. Really. I left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. Okay, here we are at point zero. It's from this point that all other places in Paris are measured. What does that mean? Notre Dame is right there, but in actuality, we're surrounded by water. We are on an island called Ile de la Cité, and it's on this island that Paris was born. Rolling on a river.
The mention of an island on the River Seine appears in history through Julius Caesar, who writes about it several times in the Gallic Wars. From before Roman times throughout the Middle Ages, Ile de la Cité became an important seat of religious, military, and political power. By the time of the Renaissance, the borders of Paris had grown from its center to resemble the city we know today. Gone are the moats that protected it from invasion. In their place is a freeway called the Périphérique. It's on and off ramps replacing the doors and drawbridges of old. What's the point? Well, let's check out rich dad Robert Kiyosaki, who's in Texas for an interview.
I buy apartment houses next to oil wells. And as long as Texas has oil, you will have jobs. Now, if Texas runs dry, you're in trouble.
Yes.
But I don't think that's going to happen. So when people ask me where I invest, I don't invest in Hawaii, because Hawaii ain't got any oil. I mean, it is just common sense. Real estate is only as good as there are jobs. I mean, you don't have to go to Harvard to figure that one out. You know.
Now, Robert owns 3,500 rental units, so he knows what he's talking about. One problem. Back in Paris, France, they aren't really that big on petroleum. 80% of their energy comes from nuclear power. But what France excels at and what drives the economy is rail transport. Each stop is like a geyser of humanity, where a river of jobs and commerce flow into the surrounding neighborhoods. Imagine if you could know which rail stops were going to be built before they built them. That would be a real estate investor's dream come true. No need to dream. Let's check out the biggest little secret in the real estate world today. Introducing Le Grand Paris Express.
On the good side of the city, till I hitch the ride on the riverboat green. Big wheel keep on turning, river keep on turning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river, rolling on the river.
Okay, I'm gonna cut it off here. I forgot. I forgot that I was just blazing with the. Let's give it up. So you get the idea. I forgot I was just leaning so heavily on Ike and Tina Turner. So the the algorithms might be up in arms. All right, so here's the Grand Prix Express. All right, this is better. So we're talking, in the video I quoted 35 billion. It's up to like 50 billion now, and cost overruns as they happen. Of course, they always do. And so the line from Charles de Gaulle to La Défense, which is, there's the Bourse area in France, which is kind of considered the financial, was once the financial center, but La Défense is now sort of the new Wall Street of France, and what I'm going to be proposing is going to end up being the new financial capital of Europe. Who can resist taking a private jet, hitting Charles de Gaulle, hitting Le Bourget or Orly, right? Jumping on the metro, 12 minutes, 15, 17 minutes, you're in Centreville, Paris, you drop your suitcase off at the hotel, and 30 minutes you're in your favorite cafe, having a cafe allongé or maybe Cabernet Sauvignon, right? Who can resist that? How cool is that? And so we're going to discuss how, within the framework of the zombie apocalypse, which is what the Ukraine war is going to come, how that is, and how that affects Europe. We're going to take a look at how now Paris is going to just, or out of just chance, because they started the Grand Prix Express long before any of this uh, conflict, came into being. So the question is, how do you navigate a culture obsessed with innovation, stay steady in times of great upheaval and change? Well, we're going to talk about that in this. Uh, there we go. The new center of gravity in Europe, why Paris is emerging as a strategic capital of the upcoming era. So Stalingrad, right? And the Donbass, it's the reverse, it's the cauldron in reverse. The Donbass region is the cauldron in reverse. All right. If Hitler would have just gone straight, right? He stopped at Stalingrad, right? These idiot, pathetic, the word slave is a derivation of the word Slav. After the fall of the Roman Empire, you've got the Goths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Franks, right? These are all Germanic tribes. The barbarians were the Germanic tribes. All right. The first, second, and third Reich were all expressions of what happened to the Germanic tribal leaders during the Holy Roman Empire. So the Germans looked down at the Slavs, just these pathetic slave losers. And so they just rolled into Russia, killed millions and millions of Russians. They came to Stalingrad. And so Hitler was like, okay, let's take this, and let's move on. They could have just went around Stalingrad and went to the Caucasus regions and took over the oil fields. They could have just shimmied to the left, went to Moscow, and took over Moscow. And Stalin was. They said Stalin when Hitler had hit Stalingrad. They said Stalin took a half an hour. The train is there. Do I stay or do I go? The na 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 na. Should I stay or should I go? And so Stalin said, "So I'm going to stay." And so there's a whole history there. So what we learned, what Russia learned, and what the world learned, and it seems like it needs to learn it again, is that when you bomb an urban center, when you destroy it, and this is why military leaders in Gaza are like, what are you guys doing? Don't you understand? You could have the most incredible mechanized force in the world, but you make it impossible to conduct warfare activities, because in the rubble, in the chaos, in the destructions, are snipers everywhere. And how do you surround? You can surround a building, but how do you surround the chaos and rubble which surrounds you? And so within that environment, the first time a city has ever been laid waste through air assault and ground assault, the Germans found they couldn't do anything against the entrenched Russian forces, because they were because of the chaos and the destruction. And Hitler's there in his bunker going mental, going, why isn't Stalingrad fallen yet? Right? And the exact same ego, and you had the Minsk Accord. There was a peace plan in Budapest. There were peace plans all along the way that Ukraine could have signed, and could have peace plans that could have happened. But no, it was more armaments, more F-15s, more Abram tanks, right? So this mallocation of resources, this urban destruction that we see on the outside, we don't see this in the capital of Ukraine. We see this just on the perimeter outside the Donbass region. The destruction isn't happening within the Donbass region. It's completely protected and fortified by Russian troops, right? So it's a strategic, it's a 400, $500 billion zombie apocalypse and a strategic humiliation, not for Ukraine, for France, for Britain, for Germany, for Norway, for Romania, for Italy, for all of the members of NATO, and for America and all the members of the EU. They couldn't destroy this pathetic bunch of former slaves, these idiot, Russians, right? Like the way the Germans thought. So we have the end of the old order. Tony Schaefer, Douglas McGregor, Scott Ritter, and I can name a bunch of them. And if I want to, I can pull them up here. You have experts. This is such a politically charged issue that anytime you talk about anything that has to do with Russia winning, it's like, oh, Trump, whatever. But if you talk to the experts and if you're agnostic about the situation, right? Judge Napolitano has a podcast, and he has Douglas McGregor, Scott Ritter, John Merschenheimer, right? These aren't radical fringe people, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying that it's over for Ukraine, and it's over for NATO, and it might be over for the EU. Now, whether or not they're correct in that assumption, that's to be seen. But that's what these experts, these military experts who've been to Russia, who know Russia intimately, and who speak Russian, is what they're saying. So, and the U.S. is shifting priorities. I think when Zelensky went to ask for more funding, one of the EU members said, hey, I can't remember which one, but I think one said, hey, this isn't a Walmart, dude. You're not just coming in, like, you're shopping at Walmart here. All right. So get off of your, your attitude. And the U.S. is shifting priorities. The U.S. has told the EU, all right, you guys got to come, NATO, all right, you got to come up with 5%. Forever, NATO wasn't paying 5%. And the Trump administration, they weren't paying paying anything at all. And so there is a leadership vacuum as far as what's happening with NATO. What is your point, right? $500 billion down the reverse-Stalingrad zombie apocalypse. Now what? So, wow, this was happening. The $500 billion and 500,000 lives were being lost for no reason, right? That there were peace accords all along the way. This could have been stopped early on. The Grand Prix Express, the largest civic project in Europe since Haussmann, was just rolling on a river. I hope we don't get too many strikes for the copyright. And anyways, so there's going to be 3 airports connected, like we said, billions in economic multipliers, and the fact that every stop along this new route is just like a geyser of humanity, where stores and commerce and human activity is going to just spring forth. This is hard for Americans to understand, but Europe is, especially France, is a rail-centric city. The metro system is just unbelievable. Nothing compares it to it in the United States. Oops. All right. So what we are witnessing is a financial repositioning of Europe. If NATO dissolves, if the EU dissolves, like these experts are saying, right? Not only just a post Brexit vacuum, but because Paris has invested $50 billion in their infrastructure, in connecting the airports, in making La Defense just this sexy, cool place to be. Paris is attracting headquarters, investment funds. La Defense is rising as a financial center, and the infrastructure plus the culture is just an absolute gravitational pull. And for people who don't know, this is the arch at La Defense. And if you look down the arch at La Defense, you see the Arc de Triomphe, So it's this really interesting civil engineering idea that they had. But this is I'm saying that this is possibly the Wall Street of Europe, right? And so why do the big four, why do KPMG and Deloitte, and why did the big four need the story? Because Europe is transforming so fast. And if you didn't know about the Grand Prix Express, and if you didn't know about this Donbass area and how the war-torn areas are just here, it's not all over Ukraine, it's just in this little zombie apocalypse area, right? If you didn't know these things, they need to be assessed. They need to be identified. They need to be reported on. And so static reports, it's just things are moving too fast. We're talking about cataclysmic changes happening like right before our eyes. Real-time intelligence is critical. Live broadcasts like what we're doing right now. Live broadcast insights win. Why do they win as opposed to video? You can like me, you can hate me, it doesn't matter. This is me. There's a trust factor, right? If you give me a comment, I can talk about the comment in real time, and whatever my political views are or whatever position I'm taking, there is a trust factor that there's no BS here. Right? I think I got like little white. I'm talking so much. I didn't get a glass of water for the. But if something goes wrong in the live broadcast or whatever happens, it's real. It's not phony. It's not fake. And that trust, especially in this era of AI, is gold. It's the currency that is absolutely essential to get your message across. Clients want clarity in chaos. Clients want trust, people they can trust. And a live broadcast like this is absolutely a gold mine to any organization that wants to build that trust and wants to build that interaction with their client base. And so that's why a strategic communications operator, anyways, that's why strategic operator like me, who can speak intelligently about geopolitical issues and who has the technical ability to put something like this together, where I can switch scenes, right? So I'm not going, okay, here, let's share the screen, right? It's boom, I want to say something, I got it right here, right? Live broadcast innovation is absolutely essential today. If things are moving so fast, you want trust. You want to be able to attack your messaging in real time, right? And, someone like me, I have lived in Paris for decades. I've got a daughter there. And if you go to Paris, see, this is the thing. I had a friend, a very successful architect, actually tell me, the Facebook, c'est pas possible. 500 amis, pas possible. C'est connaissance, 500 connaissances peut-être. The French don't recognize, like, there's a difference between a connaissance, like an acquaintance, and a friend. The French are very private people. They have a very few people that they bring into their inner circle, that they invite into their home. They can have tons of connaissances, tons of acquaintances, but 500 friends, this is what this architect told me, 500 friends is not possible. So getting the French to integrate a strategy like this, a live strategy, a new strategy, a social media centric strategy, is almost impossible if you get another French person to do it. But if you get a guy from Chicago who can take his, horrific French, if you speak French too well, the French will get all uppity. So it's good that my French isn't absolutely perfect, because then it's just this American guy. If the American guy comes in and lays down the law, it's a whole lot different than if the French guy comes in to lay down the law. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. And so, where were we? Okay. And so you need somebody who can actually look at the world agnostically and not through like the Trump or not Trump lens, right? You can need somebody who can understand a historical perspective, who's got boots on the ground insights, and who's not afraid of high velocity executive communication, who actually craves high velocity executive communication. Strategic operator, right? So that's what I'm saying. The new center of gravity in Europe, why Paris is emerging as a strategic capital of the upcoming era. And I just want to show you, all right, how just ridiculous it got. So this is the armaments that the EU sent that disappeared down this black hole, right? So I'm gonna, just for reference, I love this photo, man. There it is. Oh God. Chat GPT, baby. When it's good, it's good. Look at that. This is the zombie apocalypse that NATO has become. Maybe the EU with the dragon's teeth and the tank trenches, and Paris has the opportunity to rise from the ashes as the new financial center of the world. Look, Abram tanks, Leopard from Germany, Spain, Portugal, Challenger 2 from the UK, Sweden, Poland, Czechoslovakia, infantry fighting vehicles, Bradleys from the US, from vehicles from Sweden, Germany, Croatia. What an embarrassment, right? They all went down the black hole, completely gone, destroyed, just $500 billion. Canada, Australia, Germany, Netherlands, howitzers, rocket launchers, mortars, right? What an embarrassment. Germany, Netherlands, Romania, Sweden. And it's not an embarrassment that they funded Ukraine. The embarrassment is all of this disappeared. At what point do you cut and run, right? That's what historians asked about Hitler. He got there, like, I think in the spring of 1941, and he didn't leave to the winter of 43, I believe. So he spent like years in the cauldron, and he had his generals saying, "What are we doing here? We got the oil fields over here. We got Moscow over there. What are we doing in Stalingrad?" And it was an ego trip. And that's why it's an embarrassment. It's not an embarrassment because, the West, NATO wanted to fund what they felt was an invasion by Russia into a sovereign nation. That's not the embarrassment. Is that it kept going and going and going after it was clear that there was no possibility of success. Javelins, U.S., Sweden, France, Belgium, Italy, anti-tank weapons. How? Okay, so key system: HIMARS, Patriots, Abram tanks, Leopard 2 tanks, Challengers, F-16, MiGs, Mirages. All right. So how do you navigate a culture obsessed with innovation and stay steady in times of great upheaval and change? The answer is easy. You gotta show up. Showing up is 90% of a success. You gotta show up, right? You gotta show up. As opposed to, like when we were talking about our awards ceremony, like here, you can't just, you can't just have no videos on your insights page, KPMG. Come on now. You just can't be no information. You gotta go to LinkedIn. You gotta go all the way down and see this. Now I'm scrolling, but no, it's not acceptable. Deloitte, I like what they're doing. Right? They got a human face. See, that's good. You see a human face, it's automatically is a something of trust that just innately humans respond to. You got a live broadcast, that rises exponentially. All right, PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? They had a nice video. But it didn't really say anything. Okay. And then this was a crazy because their video kind of matched the thing. So they're trying to do something completely different. But come on, guys. You got to get on top of it. You got to be, every day, every week. It's got to be something. You got to be talking about something. You got to be talking about something relevant. You got to be bringing all this information together, all the experts together. Got to be talking to the experts. What are people thinking? What are they saying? You got to have different views. Just can't live in a Trump or no Trump world. You have to be agnostic. All right. Well, that wasn't too bad. 40 minutes. I think that's cool. All right. Looking good. Once again, a little shameless self-promotion. See, I'm hitting all so yeah. Okay, so you can say 2008. It's not. I'm not in Joe Rogan numbers, but I did rise 432% through the human algorithm series, which is what we're all about doing now. But the important thing is I'm hitting all the right people in all the right places. New York, Chicago, Paris, London, Washington, right? Come on now. Financial services, venture capital, business consultant, IT technology. Oh, C-suite going on right here. So that is what we're up to. That is what we're doing. All right. And so, yes, this is how we spiked over the weekend, the video broadcast and boredom awards. Crickets, tumbleweeds, recognizing unwavering commitment to making Time stands still. Okay, we can't be there. Big Four, if you're listening, we can't do this. We can't make time stand still. We can't be boring. It's unacceptable. All right, 40 minutes in. This was fun. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. All right. Thanks for watching. This is the Human Algorithm series where we take data that's out there and we make it accessible by creating a story, putting a human narrative to sterile geopolitical business type concepts. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a great Monday. Au revoir.